magic. And we're ready. We're ready. Welcome. Welcome to today's service, Sunday service here at Unity of Pomona Valley. This is September 14th. Isn't that amazing how time seems to, the older we get, the faster it goes? Remember how a minute in school used to feel like a century? Now a century feels like a minute. I don't know. I am delighted to share some of my favorite spiritual tools with you today. And that is the tools of mindfulness. So as we sit here, I invite you to just be aware of your seat, the seat you're sitting on, and your butt in that seat. Be aware of the smells around you, if you smell anything. And just notice sensations that come through your being throughout the service. We'll get more into it as we go on, but we might as well just start off mindfully, because this is a practice that can save lives, I feel. And it certainly has saved my life, and it has so many blessings with it that fit right into our Christian teachings, but also that fit into teachings from traditions around the world. And this is not working, David. I don't know what happened. Okay, I'll let you help me with that. And it may be something, I don't know.
There.
No, I moved it. I physically moved it, but it's not the, I like the clicker.
The clicker's not doing it.
The clicker is not doing its job. I learned this mindfulness practice from two people. One of them, Robert Brummett, who is a Unity minister and still, and he's the one that brought mindfulness to Unity, basically. And then he recommended, and I'll get into this more, that I study with his teacher, Shinzen Young. And I'm going to be talking a lot about Shinzen during my talk. So in Unity and in spiritual practice, we know that we are spirits, right? And we know that we are also bodies. And so how do we get the sense that we are embodied spirits? And how do we work with that? And it's so easy. And this month we're talking about spiritual bypass and how that doesn't really work for us. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today as well. But how being in these wondrous bodies that our souls probably waited for a long time to get, how to use them. And it's too bad that we weren't trained as children, really, how to process our sensations, our emotions, etc. But this is something that I wished I had learned before I was 5. And hopefully, anytime you learn it, it's a process that you can easily use. So, let's see. Let us get into our song, and fluidity is a part of that, because even though we look and feel like we may be solid, or we may even be stuck or feel stuck, we're not. And that's a part of what this practice helps us understand, that we are a part of God's Spirit, the Holy Spirit, that we can flow with God, with the universe, and live a joyous and meaningful life. So, Julie, are you ready for flow, spirit?
Let us flow, spirit flow.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
And it is in the Wings of Song, 251. Let us pray. I am. I am a divine being in a sacred body. All that I am can be in the flow of the One. I live and I move and I have my being in the One. And the One, God, Spirit, Jesus, however we know or understand that divine presence, lives within us. I invite you to let my words be your words. As I sit, I notice the sensation of sitting, my weight in the chair, my feet on the floor, my back straight but not rigid, my neck up as if my head is hanging from a chain, lifted, and my face slightly forward. I sit in this position so that my energies may move freely within and through me. I notice my breath, how it comes so naturally. I notice my in-breath, and how I feel like I am expanding as I breathe in. I notice my out-breath. I may feel like I'm contracting in some places, in some ways, as I breathe out. I am like a human bellow. Always flowing. Always moving. Life within me is always moving. My blood is always pumping through the action of my heart. My lymph is always flowing back to my heart. Chemicals from my glands are always pouring out, bringing balance and equilibrium to my body. Sensations run through my nerves, activating my muscles. Everything is moving in its own natural course of things, and I can relax and just feel the sacredness of that motion. And as I do, I may become to realize and recognize that I too am a part of a divine movement. A sacred motion. I am divine energy in motion in so many ways. And as a parent rocks a child, so I can understand the motion of spirit in and through me as a divine rocking. As a way of bringing me into peace, inner peace. I have the ability to move my awareness. I can be aware of my breath. And then I can let that go. I can be aware of the physical sensations of sitting, of the physical sensations of the feel of my clothes on my skin. I can be aware of my emotions as they rise and fall. When I think of a happy moment, I can notice the feelings that go along with that joy, that experience. And I can be aware of the thoughts, not what they contain, but that they come and they go. They rise and they fall as energy. And I can remember that it is all God. It is all good, as I am God, and I am good. And let us see and know that all people are God and good. All are expressions of the Divine One. And as we do this, we realize that we are all in this together. And so it is. Amen and amen. And again, just notice how you're feeling as we sing the Lord's Prayer. So on to the announcements. We have food today, and it looks like yummy food in our room, so I hope you'll join us for that. Again, David is going to be putting this on our YouTube channel, so let people know that this is there and feel free to watch it. We have our mindfulness practice from 2:30 to 4:30 this afternoon, or however long it takes. It'll probably be 2 hours, because we're going to be doing not only mindful sitting, but mindful eating and mindful walking as well, so that we can learn to integrate mindfulness in different aspects of our life throughout our day. How many of you are planning to stay for that? 1, 2, maybe 3, or maybe 3? Okay. Well, we'll get into that later. Book study is on Monday from 7 till 8 on Zoom. On Tuesday, the Upland Interfaith Council is having a listening event. Hearts Listening, a community circle for polarizing times. There is so much division and negativity out in this world, and we need to learn how to be with each other, talk with each other, love each other, and be the spiritual beings that we came here to be. So this is an opportunity to do that from 6 to 7 in the Upland Library Tuesday. This Wednesday on the 17th, we are going to be having another interfaith sharing and prayer circle here with the Claremont Center for Spiritual Living. I don't know why I have trouble getting that out, but it's a long one. And so I hope you will come. The last one we had, the end of July, was so powerful. And I just felt so clear afterwards, and I hope you will join us and invite friends, anybody. The interfaith community is certainly invited, anybody of any faith. So feel free to come for that. I want to thank the banner makers. A number of you here have been working on banners, and for those banners that are done, I'd like to, towards the end of the month, or have a showing in the Spiritual Life Center's food room there, where we made a lot of the banners, and then bring them out and hang them up here for October. And we're going to have another opportunity to work and finish them, and that will be, I'm hoping, in November. We'll be working on banners. So it's been wonderful to work with many of you. Compassionate Pomona meeting is Thursday morning, back on Zoom, and Thursday is also we've moved our regular meditation, because we have some people that are online that we'll do Thursday evening. And then Sky Meditation is now happening for the community once a quarter instead of once a month, and I hope you will join that. That's another powerful technique. Next Sunday, after church, after lunch, we're having a SWAC. Have any of you been to a SWAC circle, listening circle?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah, with Ice Out, they had them.
Okay,
Yeah,
wonderful.
they have them.
Wonderful. So this is looking at unities, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges, so that we can know what it is that, where we want to go and what we might want to do differently or add in. So, and then our wonderful Julie Matanga is having a piano recital, and it is that next weekend, and we can go to our SWAC, and then we can go, it's all the way out in Redlands, right?
Yes. At 4 o'clock they're having a buffet, and then 6 o'clock is a recital.
So
And it's free, of course.
if we may miss the buffet, or we might get there right as it's ending, before it ends. And then we can sit and listen to Julie's beautiful music. And the theme is
It's all American.
American
music. And
music.
I'm joined with my friend Bill Shaw, a very talented baritone singer.
Wow, so it'll be singing, and we'll both be
Yeah, there'll
singing
be
and
art
playing.
songs and we end it in a big.
Woo!
Again, I'm not going to destroy the
Okay,
surprise.
it'll be a lot of fun. If
Yeah.
we go, we should probably carpool, right? That would be fun to do. And our friends Mitra with Baha'i here, they're having a Soul Connection meeting that same time, that same place, from 5 to 6:30 at Mitra's house in Pomona. And Unity is continuing to collect both food and school lunch bags and backpacks. And so the Pomona is really appreciating the packs that we have brought. And Kwong was going to put another box out for the backpacks. I don't know if he was able to do that or not. And then we know that we are truly blessed. So let us say the affirmation together that is on our screen. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all I am, all I give, all I do, and all that I receive. And Liz, thank you. We're glad you're back with us today, Liz.
Aren't we, though?
Hope you had a good weekend, last weekend. And thank you for passing the basket for us. Jackie, will you come up and read today's daily word?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The word for today is brave. The affirmation, through the power of God within me, I am brave. Let's repeat that together. Through the power of God within me, I am brave. If I want to have a greater, more expansive experience of life, I must be brave and move beyond the trepidation that holds me back. I do not judge myself for hesitating, but I don't let it stop me. Instead, I take my reluctance as a cue to call upon the strength of God within, to push past my fear and move forward. So much life lies on the other side of my fear. I believe I am meant to live a fulfilling, satisfying life. Whether I am interested in having grand adventures or simply stepping out of my comfort zone and trying new things, I can rely on the divine within as I summon the courage to do new things. I affirm, I am brave. As this becomes the truth of my heart, my experience of life expands. And from 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, for God did not give us a spirit of cowardice, but rather a spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline.
Thank you, Jackie. These flowers are so gorgeous.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Smell good too.
They are amazing.
They're on Jackie's flowers.
So,
Jan,
yes.
I have a small announcement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have things. I don't know if people are interested in them or not, but they're either newer and they're in perfect condition. They're calendars and they're also electrical switch plates. They're leftovers. Also, I'm going to be able to give away an electric can opener that's
Okay.
never been used. I don't know, maybe people can use them.
Yeah.
But I
Probably.
thought I'd ask before they go
Well,
into
thank you
the
for letting us
trash.
know, and if you can put them in our room, then when we go in there,
Okay,
we can look over and take home
Yeah.
what feels like it's ours to do. So thank you for that, Ruth.
yeah, better that than to just throw them in the trash, because maybe someone else could use them.
Yes. So the song that we're going to sing now is an old one, but I've modified the words, and the new words are in your bulletin. So the old words were just if you're happy and you know it. But these words bring in all the different emotions because, we're emotional beings, right? We have lots of emotions, and so we have to pay attention and process all of the emotions. So I just went for the first, the big four, and then back to happy. So, and it is, the music is 238 and Wings of Song, but the words are in your bulletin. So, yeah. Happy, sad, we'll go through. Happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will show. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're sad and you know it, clap your eyes. If you're sad and you know it, and you really want to show. If you're sad and you know it, clap your eyes. And you know it, hide your eyes. Oh no. If you're sad and you know it, hide your eyes. Oh no. If you're scared and you know it, and you really want to show. If you're scared and you know it, hide your eyes. Oh no. If you're angry. Oh, we got it angry and then back to happy.
If you're
Angry and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're angry and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're angry and you know it, and you want to really show it. If you're angry and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Thank you for all your extra frills. Julie with extra frills. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, using mindfulness and breath to connect with our physical bodies. First, I want to tell you that I looked into the internet, and there is so much information now about mindfulness practice. I could not believe it. And some are the same, some are different, some are what I'm going to tell you. It's all based on the same thing, and yet it's been updated, I would say, modified, and so it's just very exciting to know that you can go in there and you can see on my page how to meditate, how to start meditation is there, and that's a mindfulness practice. They're just all over. But I want to start with a story. Once upon a time, a wise old river ran through a vast valley. Many creatures came to drink from its cool waters, and among them was a little fish who was always worried about the future. What if the river dries up? What if I am caught by a fisherman? He lamented. One day an elderly turtle approached him and said, "Why do you dwell on what has not happened?" The fish replied, "I fear what is yet to come." The turtle smiled knowingly and said, "I have traveled many rivers in my lifetime. Worrying does not change what lies ahead. It only steals your peace." Intrigued by the turtle's wisdom, the fish decided to focus on enjoying each moment in the river instead of worrying about unseen dangers. He began appreciating the gentle current against his scales, the shimmering reflections of the sunlight on the water's surface, and the dance of bubbles rising around him. As days passed, he realized that the river would flow as it should. Today was enough. Is that a good lesson for these times? I think so. It was just what I needed when I found it. And we are living in times of great change. In fact, every day when I wake up and I turn on the news, there's change, bigger change than I'm used to having, and probably bigger changes than I am comfortable with. And those changes, and I think for many of us, change in any kind of change triggers, even good change. You know, if you get a new job and it's new and it's what you want, but even that can trigger anxiety, all kinds of emotional upsets, good and bad. And so for me, you know, lots of emotions come. Emotions like fear, anxiety, anger, sadness. And embarrassment, all kinds of things rise for me. Some of you may feel secure with the changes that are happening, and yet because they're changes, you still may feel challenged. Unity, the co-founder of our Unity movement, is Myrtle Fillmore, and she wrote this, and I really love this. She says, "As a nation, we have declared our independence from the rule of other nations and other powers, and yet as a people, we are abject slaves. To what? Just ask anybody and see if he is not wanting freedom from somebody, from something. We will declare ourselves as no longer yielding to the servitude of fear and anger, of impatience and selfishness, bad habits, but we will know the truth that makes us free, and we will let love be the goddess of our liberty, and kindness the father of our country. Then pain and disease, sorrow and want can never find a foothold, and we will be glad people, and our patriotism will vent itself in remembering where the Spirit of the Lord is. There is liberty. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty." That is what I most got out of what she said. And interestingly, and I did not know this, there is a scripture that says almost the same thing. It says, "Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty." Do you remember that? Have any of you heard that before? That's in Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 3:17. And that's from the New King James Version. So how can we understand these writings in a way that will help us connect with the Spirit of the Lord and thus discover freedom for ourselves? I want to tell you a little bit about myself and my journey. When I was directed to Unity, I found many teachers in the Unity movement that really were excellent. Jackie and I were talking about some of the old teachers in Unity and how powerful they were. And one of them was Robert Brummett, who continues to be a good friend of mine and was my counselor for many years. And even though he lived in Kansas City and I lived in Omaha, well, near Omaha, Nebraska, I lived in Council Bluffs, Iowa at the time, I would drive 200 miles twice a month for counseling with him because I needed it. You know, if you find a counselor that works for you, stick with it, right? Until you feel done. And that's what I was able to do, and he was willing to put up with me and my midlife crises during my 40s. And so for a number of years, I worked with him, doing that inner awareness work. And one of the things that he did was help me get in touch with my emotions, the hidden ones, the blocked ones, the things that I had buried. And one of the things he also did was to help me, refer me to his Buddhist meditation teacher, that was Shinzen Young. And once I went to one retreat, it was so new. You know, I was basically living in my head and out of my head. I knew I was thoughts and everything, and I thought. Well, I come to find out that thinking can be an addiction. Did you know that? Yeah, thinking. And so I began to learn to get in touch with my body. I began to go down and put my awareness, because our awareness is so amazing that it can move, right? You can put your awareness in your big toe. And if you stub your big toe, your awareness is going to be in your big toe anyway, right? So, or you can put your awareness, you know, when you clap your hands, when we sang that song, you can put your awareness in your voice when you're speaking. You can put your awareness on your breath. You can move your awareness around anywhere. And so I began to get in touch with my body, and out of that thinking so much. I went to 5-day meditation retreats with Shinzen in less than 2 years. And I would say it saved my life. It changed my life. It helped me work through a lot of energy that I had just stuffed. You know how we do that, right? We stuff stuff we don't want to feel, especially the negative stuff, the bad stuff. And so I was able to then, when you begin feeling it, it just starts releasing. I learned techniques that help me flow with the spirit within myself, in my body, with my sensations, with my breath, with my emotions, and in the flow of my thoughts, not getting attached to my thoughts, because we get way too attached to our thoughts, but just our thoughts are just energy, right? Just like everything else is. And so I learned that how I and we tend to freeze or lock and stuff our feelings, and those get buried. And what happens when we do that?
You get sick.
We do get sick. You are exactly right. We begin to feel dis-ease, and I think that's why I went to counseling, because I was feeling dis-ease. But it would have turned into disease. You know, dis-ease and disease are pretty much from the same place. And so I found that as I began to notice my feelings, my emotions, then things begin to, the locks begin to open up. And I began to be more and more in the flow of life. Does that make sense? So that energy that's dammed up then gets released, and that energy is really spirit, the Spirit of God moving in and through us. So by turning within and noticing the rise and fall of sensations and emotions and thoughts, as well as the breath, without judgment. And it's really important to bring Instead of judging ourselves, which we're all probably very good at doing, we can just bring curiosity. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. We can even bring humor and begin to laugh at ourselves, and I'll be telling some stories about that in a minute. But we do this with equal-mindedness, and the Buddhists have a name for that, and it is equanimity. So we just have this equal mind. We're not judging it. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. And we just then begin to live in and as the is of what is, and in the flow of life, in the flow of spirit. And then as we do that, we gain freedom. So Shinzen Young writes, learning to feel sensations within the body with an attitude of equanimity, one is unlearning the habit of locking around feeling. This is the earliest locking that we acquire. When the baby matures and begins to think, the habit of locking carries over into thinking process. Eventually, all 6 sense doors, hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling, and thinking, acquire the habit of moment by moment microscopic freezing. And that prevents us from experiencing these sense doors as part of the flow of nature. I adopted this practice of mindfulness for my daily practice over 30 years ago. Now, it's not to say that, and I have not done a lot of the long-term meditation, the 5-day, some people do 30-day meditations. I have not. The more you can do some of that, the deeper you go, the more healed you become, and I am due. Let us just say that. I am due for some deeper meditation work. But it has a great healing power. Even just doing 20 minutes is what they say, but if you start with 1 minute, that's better than none. 5 minutes is better than 1. 20 minutes is what they say we need to really get in the zone. And I didn't give you quite 20, but after we did that meditation today, this morning, did you feel differently? How did you feel?
I felt differently.
Pardon?
I was thinking differently.
You were thinking differently. Isn't that interesting? Yes. Okay. So if you can give yourselves, you can start small and then build. I highly recommend that. We are a part of nature. Many of us, and I know many of you, go into nature to experience peace, right? To calm down. Why do you think that is? Nature teaches us just the vibration in nature. If you're around water, right, you feel the flow of water, and our body energy just wants to pick up that sense of fluidity and go with it. If you hear the wind in the trees or feel the wind on your skin, there's a part of us that just takes that on and becomes that, what we are sensing. If you're looking at beauty of the flower or a tree or a sunset, nature really teaches our beingness peace and flow, because it's always changing, right? And when you're in nature, everything is always changing. So, and we can smell the air, feel the earth beneath our feet. And when we finish, when you come back from a nature walk, how do you feel?
Much better.
Yes!
Much better.
Less stressed, freer, refreshed. There may be a lot of words that you might use for understanding that. But then what happens? Do you
You get
stay that
insight.
way?
You get insight.
You get insight.
Yes, you get
You
inside.
get insight into your life.
Yes,
Okay, and so yours continues on. For many of us, and for me, I may take a piece of that into my everyday life, but very often I go back into kind of locking up my feelings, locking down things, and so then I forget that I'm a fluid being. That's why doing a daily practice of nature walking, of meditation, of something is really helpful. Robert Brummett, my teacher, writes, "The problem lies in the tremendous imbalance and lack of integration between our inner and our outer worlds. We have failed to parallel our rampant external development with a corresponding growth in self-awareness. We have created external wealth and internal poverty." How much of your life do you spend on the inner? I mean, I spend an hour a day, and that's about it. And that's a lot more than I used to spend, right? So bringing some balance, finding that inner, time for the inner is really important. That's why it's so important to create the daily practice. Baha'i, and this is in all that I can find, meditation or religious traditions, our Baha'i friends say it is only as human beings awaken to their spiritual nature that they can be said to know God, to ascend unto the station conferred upon their own innermost being, the station of the knowledge of their own self. So when we know who we are, we know we're one with God, right? We're a part of that divine flow. So life, like meditation, can be pleasant. It can also be unpleasant, right? Anybody ever had an unpleasant day? Or it can be neutral, like the feel of our clothes may be neutral. You can meditate on what comes up, or you can give a focus to meditation. So you can choose what to meditate on, like your breath, the way your clothes feel on your body, the way it feels to sit, the thoughts that rise and fall, all of those things, but not necessarily on the thoughts themselves. Sufi, my favorite Sufi teacher, Hazrat Inayat Khan writes, "Whoever knows the mystery of vibration indeed knows all things." We are in vibration. We are vibration. And when you notice sensations, they're vibrations, right? Our voices are vibrations. Our heart puts out vibrations that go out into the world. So if we know ourselves as vibrations, if we pay attention, then we are realizing our fluid nature and the freedom that we get from that. Mystics of all traditions have said the same thing. Shinzen, again, has wisdom, and he writes, "Start with any sensation whatsoever, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, and begin to observe it with what I refer to as a skillful way. You have to begin to unlearn the habit of blocking the flow of consciousness, unlearning it at the most primitive level, where that habit first started. Pretty soon you find that you are able to think without freezing the thinking process. The eyes begin to function without freezing the visual field, and the entire flow of consciousness begins to take on the quality of ripples spreading on a lake. The operations of the senses have an effortless, spontaneous, just happening quality. This unblocked flow is also the nature of the creative spirit that gives rise to the appearance of the world. So there is a direct link between just sitting there, watching your trapezius twitch, and realizing God. It is that finding God within ourselves. even in pain. This practice is not always easy, and yet it is profound. Robert tells the story of going to a meditation retreat, and they had specific places that they sat, and the man next to him came down with a cold and started coughing the second day. And he coughed and he coughed, and it irritated him so much, and it like broke his concentration, broke his tranquility, and he became very irritated that this man would be there and interrupt his practice. So finally, wisdom kicked in. You know, wisdom does kick in for us. And he thought, well, I'm going to use this for me. So every time this man coughs, I'm going to just think of it as a bell that takes me deeper in my practice. So he sat there for a few days with this man coughing, and he went deeper and deeper. And then guess what happened? The man got well. And suddenly his deepening bell was gone. And how do you think he felt? Irritated. So aren't we funny? We can laugh at ourselves when we really look at what's going on within us. We are hysterical creatures. So it is good to laugh. Good to laugh at ourselves, to stop judging ourselves. And when we stop judging ourselves, who else do we stop judging? Others. That's right. And then the world works a whole lot better, right? And we can just be in equanimity, equal-mindedness. Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Ching, says, "He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened." And I think this is the kind of knowing that he is talking about, really knowing ourselves deeply. I believe that the universe helps us conspire to deepen. And at one of the retreats that I'm sorry. Oh, it went off. Thank you. Is it coming back on, David? I don't know. No? One of the retreats that I attended in Colorado, we sat for a few days in this peaceful bliss. And the next thing that happened, they started a construction project. It would be like right out in the parking lot. And they were hammering and drilling through concrete. Well, how do you think that I felt? Like my piece that I had paid to come here to get was shot. But again, just like Robert, I remembered Robert's story of the coughing, and it's like, okay, I will make this work for me. And you know how we get used to things, right? And so after a few days, I got used to the hammering, and then somebody left the door to the meditation room open. And guess what came in? About 60 flies for every single person. So we are sitting there, about 50 of us. We each have 60 flies. So you can imagine. Anybody remember what flies in your ears are like? The buzzing of flies, the noise of flies, the feeling of flies walking on your skin. What do you want to do naturally when a fly comes around?
Swat.
Swat it, yeah. And that's what I wanted to do, and yet I remembered Shinzen had told a story about sitting in meditation one day and a fly crawled up his nose. Oh my God, I think I would die if a fly crawled up my nose. So I am sitting there and there's all these flies around, and then one lands on my face. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to bring equanimity, and I'm not going to swat it. I'm going to bring curiosity. What does this feel like? Well, he started walking across my eyelid. And I'm telling you, his feet felt like an elephant on my eyelid. But I just kept noticing. And the deeper focused I got, the better, the calmer I got. And then this fly went over and he stuck his proboscis in my eye to get a drink. And I sat there and allowed that. And then he flew off. And I think that was probably my proudest moment because I did it. You know, I didn't get reactive. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, I was able to do that. That was like the greatest test. God gave me this test, and I felt like I had passed. Jewish renewal leader, Rabbi Zalman Shakti Shalomi writes, awareness of your actual body experience is one of the most important keys for spiritual work. So tune into your body. Listen to it. It comes from God and is one of the ways that leads back to God. What if we don't pay attention to our body's sensations and emotions? What happens?
Get very sick.
You can get very
Very
sick.
sick.
Because it's an alarm system set up, right? And we're supposed to pay attention. If we don't pay attention, then we're missing the alarms, right? And we're not processing on top of all of that. But what else happens? If I am angry and I don't want to feel my own anger, what am I going to do with that anger? Is it going to go away? I'm going to stuff it, yeah. And then, how's it going to get out?
It explodes.
On
Whoever's around.
whoever's around. That's right. That's what we do unconsciously. I mean, we're not consciously doing this, but this is how we get into such messes in our relationships, is because we're not owning our own feelings. And then we explode them out onto somebody else. And that can easily turn into violence, right? And we see that violence in the world today. So, I'm almost done. Let's see. Pema Chodron, Buddhist writer, and I want to read some of her books because her insights are incredible. She writes, feelings like disappointment, embarrassment, irritation, resentment, anger, jealousy, and fear, instead of being bad news, are actually very clear moments that teach us where it is that we are holding back. They teach us to perk up and lean in when we feel we'd rather collapse and back away. They're like the messengers that show us with terrifying clarity exactly where we're stuck. This very moment is that perfect teacher, and lucky for us, it's with us wherever we go. So we have, whatever feelings come up, they have messages for us, and we just need to pay attention to them and feel them and not be ashamed or embarrassed that we're feeling any of those things. So, Shinzen Young, I just want to say a little bit more about him. This is my remembrance of him. I did not download this story, but he was such an important person in my life. He was raised in the LA area. He was raised Jewish. And in fact, many of the meditation teachers, Buddhist meditation teachers in America, came from Jewish roots. His dad was a rocket scientist. And as a kid, and his best friend was Japanese. So Shinzen was very smart with language. And he learned Japanese from his friend. And he learned about Buddhism from his friend. But he did not learn science and math from his dad. In fact, he failed every science and math course that he took. And so I want to read to you. He graduated, he went into graduate school to study Buddhism. He went to Japan to write his dissertation. And then they wouldn't let him just come in and do an academic thinking process. He had to go through like becoming a monk for years there. So he writes this about that process. He said, I thought, as he was getting ready to go home, I thought to myself, I'm going back to the Western world where science originated. Maybe I should see this as an opportunity to learn something about science. But initially, I had one enormous problem. I had failed all of my math and science classes in high school and college. I suffered from math phobia, and I had a dismal academic record in the sciences. Fortunately, though, I now had meditation skills. I had concentration abilities. I had some ability to listen to my negative tapes without believing them. I had some ability to observe my emotions without being distorted by them. When the belief that I would fail arose, I could often observe the internal talk, the mental images, and the emotional feelings of this belief without buying into them. The equanimity and concentration power I had gained through meditation training allowed me to overcome the limited influences of the past and actually become quite accomplished in the areas of math and science. In fact, I eventually went on to teach such subjects at the college level. Now, to me, that's a miracle story. And I think we all have our own miracle stories inside us. The things that we think are keeping us away from our dreams, we can move past if we're self-aware, like he was. So I just invite, may mindfulness meditation bless your life. And I invite you to join us after lunch for more detail about the practice. Julie, do you have a piece of music for us?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm making my shoes on. I was really relaxed there. I was getting into my mindfulness in my feet.
Well, I'm glad.
I'm sure
There
I
you
love
go.
shoes, but it's good not to have shoes.
It's very good not to have
Oh, yeah.
shoes. Then you can feel your feet on the
Absolutely
ground. You can
Yeah.
become the receptor of.
This is one of the pieces I'll be doing for my recital. I tried to find as many different kinds of varied ways of making sounds on the piano. And maybe grab it here. This is by Chick Corea. He was a really wonderful jazz artist. And he wrote these beautiful in the late 70s, early 80s. He wrote about 21 children's songs, and he said they're not for children to play, but to convey the idea of the innocence of children and their emotions and their world. Now, did I forget my glasses? Did I leave them there, Arthur? That's okay, I have it in there. Anyway, this one. It reminds me of like having pain or sorrow or ambiguity, and then it resolves and it lifts. So I think that's very apropos. I've always wanted to have children listen to these, and there's just called children's song number 1, number 2, number 3. They don't tell you what you're supposed to feel or what he was feeling. They're just number 1, number 2, number 3, absolute music. And but they're so emotional, and so I hope you like this. This was number 8, so you can close your eyes since you can't see me anyway, and just kind of let the perfume of this music get into you.
sure your whole recital is going to be very interesting. Okay, so let us say our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Now, our peace. And so it is. Thank you all. I'll see you hopefully in, are you going to stay, Julie, and eat?
I'll say a little bit.
Good. You and Arthur, we would just be great to have you.
Okay.
And if you want to stay on no pressure, but you seem to meditate very easily.
Do you want book there?
Yeah, just keep a good care. No, I don't think anybody's gonna take it. Well, I don't know about that. I don't think so. You're gonna take your cushion with you? I think it's okay, I don't know. Well, you don't know.
I don't know, it was fun.
Okay, let's take it back. Because the cushion is really
Yeah.
attractive to whoever was the little
Yes,
elf.
yes, I do. I do.
Okay.
I think this week is better. Last week was
Because last week was a
crazy.
little bit more stuff going on.
You have more stuff going on? Did you get a chance? Okay,
I'm
you're
glad.
busy, keeping it busy.
It's really-
Okay, so when you come in, tell me what your time available needs are. Okay? Okay, let's talk about it.
Should we go in there or just for a little while?
So how are you, Arthur? How's this? I am so, I couldn't be happier. What is